You're listening to my podcast called The Sensitive Man. I'm Simon Lim, and today's episode is called Classical Performing Arts. And I think that even as we enjoy discovering about the latest gadgets and technology of today, it's important for us to also appreciate traditional performing arts and culture. Why? Well, watching performing arts keeps us engaged with human expressions of the mind, body, and emotions. And perhaps I've always been sensitive to the expressions of actors, dancers, and performers, and I can just get lost in their performance. How about you? You know, it's the power they have over the audience as they mesmerize and intrigue us with their creative storytelling. I spoke with Deva Priya Appan, an Indian classical dancer with Apsara's Arts. I found out from Priya about the exciting world of Indian classical dance. Priya, when did your love for Indian classical dance start, and how did you get into performing on stage?
So I was actually enrolled into Bharatanatyam classes at the age of 6 by my parents. And my actual interest actually grew only after my graduation performance, which is called the Arangetram, when I was about 15 years old. And subsequently, I started performing more after that performance, both locally and internationally.
Wow. So where did you perform internationally?
I've performed in Australia, India, Sri Lanka, South Africa.
Nice experiences. Now, tell me more about the dance that you did with Seema Harikuma called Perspectives of Duality. It's a duet performance.
So this was a dance show that I performed with my friend Seema in February of this year. It was actually in honor of my dance teacher, Mrs. Neela Satyalingam, who passed away. The show was actually about the perspectives of the concept of duality. So we actually approached the concept of duality in various ways, like conflict, parallelism, harmony, and incorporated these ideas into the dance pieces that we actually did.
Now, Priya, there are also many types of Indian classical dance forms like Kuchipudi, Satriya, and Manipuri. Yes. How many classical dances have you learned and performed, and which are your favorites?
Personally, I've only learned Bharatanatyam. As a part-time dancer myself, I feel that I have a lot more that I would like to pursue and learn from this dance form. But I've watched and enjoyed other Indian classical dance forms like Kathak, Odissi.
And what can you tell me about the clothing and makeup and even the accessories worn by female Indian classical dancers when performing?
So in Bharatanatyam, the traditional costume is actually made from saris or fabrics, and it's actually stitched into either a pant or a skirt costume, and the top half usually looks like a sari. So basically, the costume is designed in such a way that it enhances the poses and postures that we take during the dance.
They're always so beautiful to look at.
Yes, yes. In terms of the makeup, the focus is generally on the eyes, because that's a large part of the expressions that we use. And there are also many accessories used, including necklaces, bangles, jewelry on the head. And importantly, the ankle bells that we wear actually emphasize the rhythm.
So do you actually do your own makeup?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes if it's a big production, we actually have a makeup artist come in and do it for all of us so that it's uniform.
That would be helpful. Now, the movements in Indian classical dance is fascinating. I've noticed that there are movements that are firm and rigid, and there are movements that flow. The postures and even facial expressions play a part. So tell me more.
So actually in Bharatanatyam, there are different aspects to it. There is pure dance, which is actually just a presentation of rhythm through the movements of the body. And an important part of it is also expressions, which is called Abhinaya, which actually uses sign language based on our gestures in our hands and use of our facial muscles and the eyes. So in all, the movements are used to convey a meaning. Hand gestures also have specific meanings to each and every one. And the face and body language are used to express our emotions and tell stories.
Very interesting. Now, Priya, as a performer of Indian classical dance, what do you do to personalize your performances?
I think it starts right from the beginning when we are learning an item. We have to actually practice. And subsequently, once you familiarize with the piece, you can start to improvise here and there. And over time, eventually it becomes, your own piece. But I would say that it's an evolving process. And the same item that I do in one performance can be completely different at a different time point. So it actually evolves over time.
Now, before the lockdown due to COVID-19, how often do you get to practice Indian classical dance? Is it something that you practice in the studio only or at home as well?
Mainly I was practicing at the studio. So before the lockdown, I used to practice about 1 or 2 times a week. It's quite difficult to dance at home, living in high-rise, and because we need to stamp the floor a lot.
Your neighbors would hear you.
Yes. But I think after the lockdown, we've realized that we have managed Zoom classes from home. But the focus has been more on using our expressions and also learning more about theory and rhythm so that we don't have to dance so much.
Priya, you have a very interesting job as a doctor in mental health. Indeed, mental wellness is such an important aspect in today's urban world. So what do you think is the key to happiness and mental wellness?
I think the key is actually to understand yourself. There are so many articles out there on self-help that gives you lots of ideas on keeping yourself happy. But I think only we know what would make ourselves truly happy, and that is what is going to be helpful for us. So I think the first step towards happiness would be really to learn about yourself and what is meaningful to you as a person and pursue that. And I think happiness and mental wellness will follow.
Is there a philosophy to life that you subscribe to that makes you feel complete? I'm very sure people admire you as a doctor, an Indian classical dance performer, as well as a wife and mother.
I would say I'm still learning about myself, but what I've learned so far is that I need a balance in my life that makes me feel complete. So that means that I need to strike a good balance between my family, work, and dance.
Priya, what can you say about the need to promote culture and traditions such as Indian classical dance?
I think there is really a pressing need to promote culture and tradition, especially in these times. There is a risk of it becoming forgotten and obsolete. And I think that will be very tragic because some of our traditions have been around, for so many years. I think culture and heritage really reflects and shapes a person's values and their beliefs. And importantly, it actually defines their own identity. So that will be very important that, we keep our identity and we don't lose it.
That's absolutely true. I believe that one has to respect tradition, culture, and also customs. So thank you very much for being on my podcast show, Priya.
Thank you.
And that was Indian classical dancer Deva Priya Appan, also known as Priya from Apsara's Arts. And you can find out more about Apsara's Arts via www.apsarasarts.com. Special thanks to Srijith Krishna for the music title Tisra Ala Ripu. You're listening to The Sensitive Man. I'm Simon Lim.